Hi everyone, I'm Paul Boyden, one of the psychologists in the Grant DBT team, and I'm here today to do one of the first videos in our next series of DBT skills around interpersonal effectiveness. And so today's a short video just to introduce you to the goals of what the skills are in DBT for this difficulty, and also to have a little think about one of the first skills that I can share today of how to think about how intensely we want to ask for what we want from other people, or even how to say no. So the first thing we need to think about is that there are a number of skills that we've got in DBT that can help you to do a number of different things. So the goals of this module is to think a little bit about how to be skillful in what you want, how to achieve that, how to say no to unwanted requests but effectively, which is always really difficult to do. And another goals include how to strengthen relationships that you might have at the moment with people. That could be friendship, romantic relationship, friendships or relationship with people in the street that you see every day, so more like acquaintances, or it could be even relationships with the colleagues or with your manager. And also to have a little think about how to end any relationships that are actively destructive to your life, so causing you a lot of emotional pain and turmoil as well. And so actually it's really difficult to end those relationships, but sometimes it's something we need to do. So we're going to talk about how to do that in our other video. And lastly, we're going to have a little think about how to walk the middle path as well. So what this means in DBT is to think a little bit about, it's not always either I've got to do this or I've got to do that. There can sometimes be a middle path that we need to do, and we need to follow that. So thinking a little bit how we can balance acceptance and change within a relationship. This will become a lot more clear as the videos go on. So there are a number of factors that get in the way of being really effective in our interpersonal skills. So firstly, we might not have any of the skills at all. And that could be that we've got some skills, but we need other skills, or that we have none whatsoever. Maybe they've never been taught, maybe we never got them at school, maybe we never got them from our parents or people that brought us up. You might not have had enough learning opportunities, but there are always new interpersonal effectiveness skills that people can learn at any stage in their life. The second thing is you might not know what you want. So you have the skills, but you can't decide what it is you want from the other person. Or you can't figure out how to balance your needs versus the other person's needs, and how you can sort of think about, it's not always got to be what you want, it could be what the other person wants too, and maybe sometimes we can negotiate that. Third, your emotions might be getting in the way. So you've got the skills, you know what you want to say, it's just that the minute you go to do it, bam, an emotion shows up, and that just takes you further away from having that conversation. This is so common. And that emotion can be anything. It can be you're feeling too much anger, or there's a lot of guilt in saying what you want to say, or you feel shame, or in fact maybe you're so proud that you think, no, I'm not going to ask it because I want people to know that I come across as competent, but then that means that nothing gets done and you remain stuck. And then fourth, you might forget your long-term goals, your short-term goals. So this is where sometimes people say, actually, I should do it now, I'll get it done, and it's great, but in the meantime you burn out, and therefore your long-term goal of actually thinking, no, I would like to designate this to others so that I can be, more free to do other stuff. But sometimes we have an immediate urge or want, and we should say, no, I want something right here, right now, and even if it makes you miserable, I'm going to get my needs met. But actually that means you lose that relationship with that person. So that can be something that we need to slow down and use our wise mind for. There are another couple of things here. So sometimes other people might get in the way. That could be people of power, or someone in a hierarchical situation that's higher up than you, at work, for example. Or it might be that other people feel quite sensitive and threatened, or what you might think, well, they're not going to like me if I do get what I want, and that can stop us from being effective. Or it could be that other people won't do what you want unless you sacrifice your self-respect at least a little. So it's thinking a little bit about how can I get that balance between having self-respect and also being able to at least try and get what my needs are, and try and be clear about them, try and get them met, so that I know I've done the best I can. And lastly, the sixth bit is to think a little bit about whether actually it's thoughts and beliefs that are getting in the way. So worrying about something bad that might happen, negative consequences, or thinking that you don't deserve anything, so therefore that stops you in your tracks, you don't even bother to ask. Or it could be that actually other people don't deserve what they want, and that makes you ineffective. So it's just thinking a little bit about, sometimes you have schemas or thoughts or beliefs underlying the reason for why we don't always ask for what we want. And then I've just put some myths. There's a lot of myths in the DBT books that come up that people really recognise, and there's just a few here. But some people say, I don't deserve to get what I want or need, or if I say no, it's going to kill me. If they say no, rather, or it might be that I feel really inadequate if I can't pick this for myself, or if I say no, that makes me a selfish person. So there's loads of different myths that can get in the way. So it might be really good for you just to pause the video, if you like, and just have a little think. What are the things that I believe gets in the way of me being able to sort of have a really effective relationship with a friend, or with a loved one, or a family member, or a romantic relationship, or someone that, you know, we need to kind of get things from, but we can't always do it. Have a little think about what that is. Okay, so we're going to go straight into a skill. Those are the goals, and it's something that's really good to be aware of. But now we're going to talk about how to get your voice heard. So there are options for how to ask for what you want, or how intensely you want to say that, or even how to say no to something. But before you do that, you have to decide how intensely you want to hold your ground in the first place before you go and have that conversation. Now, I appreciate there are times where the conversation is right there, right then, and we haven't had time to plan and prepare for it, but try and see if there's a thermometer in the back of your mind of whether you think, I really need to get my needs heard, or I really want this, or I really do not want to do that. Or if you go, okay, I'll try, but if I don't, I'll be okay, I'll accept that. So think a little bit about how firm are you going to be. And sometimes we have to be incredibly firm. It's, you know, in the face of someone that might be abusive, asking to do things you just know that it's an absolute no, I'm not going to do it. And there are other things where people might sort of say, actually, would you mind doing this as a small favour? And you think, I'd really rather not, but actually for the greater good and for my longer term goals, I will just say, yeah, it's okay. So here are the options. So I quite like this because it kind of goes from the top to the bottom of low intensity down to how firm you want to be. So do think about this. So when you're asking for something, a low intensity is kind of like where you just don't bother at all, to starting to hint, to start to ask gracefully in a polite way, all the way up to number 10, which is where you ask and you do not take no for an answer, because it's something that's really important and it cannot be negotiated. And then on the other hand, you've got how to say no. So low intensity will be just doing whatever other people want without being asked. But I got to say at this point, if you keep on doing that, you can easily become at risk of depression, of extreme anxiety, or you can become quite bitter and resentful without realising it. And actually you start to go, I'm always saying yes to everything, and actually it's hurting me, you know, really hurting me, and my mind might start giving me a warning sign about that, and that will come in the face of, you know, the presence of either depression or anxiety. So sometimes we have to say no, it's really important, and we have a right to do that. And the intensity might be all the way down to number 10, where you just don't do it, you just say no, and you hold your ground. So you will fluctuate in every different situation, different context, but I think it's always really good to know just how, when you're going into a conversation, or even while you're having a conversation, how firm are you going to be, and how much do you want to say no to this, or are you able to accept? So there are a few things just to look out for. The other person, or your own capability to be able to do the task that's being asked of you, or even the capability of being able to have the conversation, how firm you or the other person could be. Do think about, secondly, your priorities. What's important to you? You know, what is it that you really think, actually, right here, right now, I really need to make sure I keep a good eye on this. Third, think about the effect of your actions on your self-respect. So a really good example here is when people come in and they might come to my service, for example, and say, I need an appointment for tomorrow, and if you don't give me the appointment, I'm going to complain straight away. And actually, it just means that you can lose your sense of self-respect when acting in that way, because it means that the other person has got no negotiation, and you might be acting something with that person that it's just really unfair to act. Or it might be actually someone's asking something of you and you think, I really don't want to do this, and to respect myself, I've got to really try and be firm and say no here. Think about legal rights, think about what moral rights, what's okay. I mentioned abuse earlier. Abuse is never, ever, ever okay, and I'm very firm on that, always will be. So we have to think a little bit about, if I think I'm being taken advantage of or abused, you've got to be extremely firm in saying no. Then, of course, there's the authority. Now, in the workplace, for example, authority does exist. If you work in the police force, for example, in the NHS, in a banking service, there will always be levels of authority in terms of management. So you do have to sometimes think a little bit about that. If you go to the chief executive and ask for a massive pay rise, the chief executive has the authority to say no. Thinking a little bit about the type of relationship you've got with a person. So if you know someone for quite some time, you've known them for ages, it might be easier to have the conversation as opposed to if it's someone that's new. Think about your action, so having the conversation, what might happen to your long-term and short-term goals. I really like number 8, is the degree of give and take in your relationship. I think sometimes I might ask people to do things and they'll say yes, and only if you do this for me, and I'm like, that's absolutely fine, that's fair. And there's a bit of give and take, and actually both people walk away with their goals met. And lastly, think about whether you've done your homework. And when we mean homework here, what we mean is make sure that you go in knowing that you're asking for something that's actually reasonable or even possible or realistic. I think realistic is the word I'm looking for here. So make sure you've done your homework, and maybe sometimes going in really well prepared, doing homework in that sense, or thinking about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, rehearsing it, can be really, really important and really helpful. And that's all it is today for this video, but we have more video coming on interpersonal effectiveness. So today's video is very much about what the goals are of this module, how to ask for something intensely, how intensely you might want to say no to something. But the next few videos are going to be how to do that, what to say, what examples we can give, and how to say it as well, by trying to keep the relationship with that person. So the Dear Man Give Fast video is coming up over the next few weeks. And that is an acronym, and all of those letters in Dear Man Give Fast stand for different skills, different things to remember when trying to have a conversation with someone and trying to sort of keep a relationship or improve it, or how to end it. The best thing you can do in these skills is to rehearse, and the next few videos will give you some examples around that. Okay, do comment if you want to on the comment box below. Do look at our other videos because all the skills overlap. We really hope that today's video is helpful, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.